Here are my 4 articles of impeachment against Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump. Fucking Trump, okay? It's too many syllables. So, Donald Trump has been illegally waging warfare on sovereign countries, such as Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, Somalia, Sudan, and Pakistan. 7 countries officially and 20 African countries secretly, without congressional permission, as required by the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11. Article 2. This is Article 2 for the impeachment of Donald Trump for the felony murder of 8-year-old Nora al-Awlaki, an American citizen, in the Yakla raid in Beta province, Yemen. There's a raid in Yakla in the Beta province in Yemen on January 29th, 2017. This had been Donald Trump's first authorized airstrike, authorized raid, and they killed an 8-year-old girl, Nora. And she was shot in the neck, and then she bled to death all over the course of 2 hours. So she got shot in the neck, took her 2 hours to finally bleed out. So felony murder, because just because you murder somebody in another nation, that's somehow not murder. If I go over to Canada and shoot somebody, y'all going to protect me like you all going to protect Donald? Article 3, these are all the other deaths that happened on the same day as Nora was killed. Article 3, for the 30 innocent Yemeni civilian non-combatants, including a pregnant woman, 9 children, on the 3rd article of impeachment of Donald Trump for the 30 innocent Yemeni civilian non-combatants, including 1 pregnant woman and 9 children, all under the age of 13, the youngest being a 3-month-old baby. No, not year, 3-month-old baby. And William Ryan Owens, a U.S. Navy SEAL, an American, who died as a result of the 2 a.m. January 29, 2017, Sunday, Yakla ground invasion in Yemen, executed by General Joseph Votel and authorized by Donald J. Trump and James Mattis. Article 4. Donald Trump continues to wage illegal warfare, killing children and innocent civilians without congressional permission per the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which is a federal statute which forbids. Congress essentially had no power with Nixon and the Vietnam War. They passed the War Powers Act of 1973. Some people are opposed to it because they say that they're changing the constitutional language. And while that's true, the point of it was just basically to rein in his power. You can't just declare wars whenever the fuck you want to. So in a way, it does actually loosen the power that Congress has, which is why Tim Kaine and John McCain 3 years ago wanted to repeal it and put something that says you cannot invade another country without first contacting us. And that would have been under Obama. I wonder, is McCain and Tim Kaine, are they, do they want to rein in Trump, or are they going to wait for that? Article 4. Donald Trump continues to wage illegal warfare per the War Powers Resolution of 1973. It forbids armed forces from remaining in foreign lands. The statute is written up. You have 2 days, 48 hours, in order to first contact Congress. If you're the president, if you start bombing in Somalia, if you start sending U.S. Special Forces into Somalia, U.S. Navy SEALs, putting boots on the ground, let's assume that we are doing that, since that's what we're doing. And if we're putting them on boots on the ground, we have 2 days to let Congress know what the fuck we're up to, both houses and the Senate. Since it's all Republicans, really just 3 men. All you got to do is just, tell 2 other men, so it's not even that much of a restriction, but it does reinforce that it's a check. Congress declares the war, so therefore Congress should have the power. They did override his veto, and then he did resign. So the actual law itself could be said that, it pushed Nixon on out the door. It could be said. Quickly, the War Powers Resolution of 1973 forbids armed forces from remaining in foreign lands for more than 60 days without a congressional declaration of war. After 60 days, so we've put boots on the ground in Somalia. Now Congress has 60 days to say, yes, we agree with it. Let's go ahead and invade. Here's a declaration of war like the Constitution requires. Or, no, we don't want to do this shit anymore. Bring them home. So an authorization or a deauthorization, right? It could either go one way or it could go the other way. So all Bernie Sanders would have to do is just put it up for a vote. Put it up for a vote, right? Don't y'all vote on bills and shit? Put the war up for a vote. Get the authorization to use force. See if the Congress today will allow Trump to have whatever force he wants. They should have less than the War Powers Resolution of 1973. They should have less. 60 days, 90 days to do as the fucking Donald Trump should be impeached for war crimes. He was not authorized to bomb. The American people not authorized to bomb. A re-election kind of says that the American people forgive your crimes, but he's getting in there and he's doing bombs that we haven't been doing for quite some time in Yemen and Pakistan, dropping, drone strikes. So he is very much escalating the official wars that we had. Well, we bombed them a couple times last year. Might as well bomb them again this year, such as Yemen, right? Yemen and Somalia and Sudan. So the 4 articles here, I haven't talked about the United Nations yet, so I got to get them. I think there's, Article 53 and some other ones. So the United Nations has to give us authorizations for it to be even remotely justified. There's even problems with the United Nations, but I trust the whole world, right? That's where the whole world has a consensus. The first article is a constitutional article. The 4th article is it's a federal statute. So these are domestic laws. This is how Donald Trump is breaking our own laws. So there's debate when it comes to international law, and I don't really know where is the source of it. Where does, the source of international law come from? The UN, is it the Geneva Conventions, the UN Declaration of Human Rights? I think you have to have an authoritative body. The UN seems the best to me. It's the greatest generation's legacy left it behind, so that way we wouldn't have any more Hitlers who invade for one nation to invade another nation. That's the whole fucking point. But when we have a veto and 4 other big countries have a veto, basically the whole world can say, okay, Israel, you need to stop killing Palestinians, and then the United States vetoes, and then there it goes. Guess Israel's allowed to kill Palestinians now because the U.S. government said it was okay. That's the problem. Like the felony murder, some people might say it's not a felony murder because it's not up to the own citizen. I think if you kill a person here, kill a person elsewhere, you don't do that shit in my name. No, sorry, American government, you can't go around stealing and raping and killing and doing as the fuck as you please overseas in my name. I think this is bullshit. This is, you have to take, fuck this, fuck the wars. Every civilian is bullshit. Every civilian death is fucking bullshit. She's 8 years old. What could an 8-year-old have done to have deserved that? Who her fucking granddad was? And then there is, 30 innocent civilian non-combatants. So between the children and the civilian non-combatants, my guess is that Trump is going to continually bomb and continually kill people in our names, right? And do you think that's going to win hearts and minds? He goes in there, and let's say he's successful and he gets the Nelson Mandelas, because Reagan said Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. You think the country's going to... There's a point to declaring a war. That's what kings used to do. Kings used to be despotic and tyrannical because of a war. It was always done in the people's name, right? It was always for the people, even if that was bullshit or not. And so since we were fighting tyranny, it's why we got the 3 branches, right? So one has a check on the other. When it comes to a declaration of war, there's a point to make an official declaration. There's an official declaration when we went to go to war with Britain, right? Here's the fucking crimes. Here's what y'all need to do. You need to back up. We also wanted to take Canada, so it was an imperialist adventure. Maybe it was to win some respect or some shit. It's also that we see the rise of Andrew Jackson, right? Mr. Trail of Tears himself. So good job, War of 1812. We killed Tecumseh, right? Tecumseh is dead. But we formally declared the war. So therefore, Britain and Canada, they knew what was up. They knew what we wanted, and if they wanted to rectify it, it also shows the American people. These are the reasons. These are the objectives. This is what. Also, I think that there's a respectability to it. So it's badass, so actually it's pretty fucking gangster. But it's terrorism if you don't, because it just makes me think of like a police outfit, right? So if you have like 5 or 6 police cars with sirens and, the decals, right? It says police on the side of their cars, and they're all uniformed up with a badge and a hat. So they look like police officers. They wolf pack. They just come out of nowhere and they just, do whatever it is that they need to do, right? They need to go after some fucking guy. And because they're dressed like that, because there's an official decoration, hopefully there is one eventually, right? The charges are red or some shit, but because of the official capacity, if they had none of those things, let's just say they're all, plain clothes, fucking spy detectives, that means you just got a bunch of guys going around attacking everybody. You just got dudes. That's why Congress needs to declare the war. They are the ones who give the permission. If Congress doesn't declare the war, then there is no fucking war. Fuck this bullshit authorization to use force. You want to go to war? If you want to drop bombs, if you want to send in military personnel for, the direct fucking purpose to kill, maim, take over the government, then you need to get the Congress's permission. You got to get the Congress's permission. Fuck all the bullshit. No, you got to be honest. You got to be forthright and honest. If we're the good guys in this, then we would tell not only for the enemies for them to rectify the situation, assuming that they're in the wrong, but also for us, we, the American people, right? If you're going around without congressional authority, which is constitutional authority, only Congress can declare the wars. That means any other fucking war that's going on right now is illegal. Did Congress declare that war? Oh, okay, well then it's illegal. What you doing? Essentially, it feels like it's not civilized. It's terrorism. It's just that guy going around the neighborhood attacking whoever the hell he wants to. And then later on you find out that it was the police. Well, you could have declared something. There could have been some kind of fucking indication that you're in an official capacity. How the fuck do you, if there's just criminals around here who might attack you for whatever fucking reason? Oh, you're in plain clothes? Okay, so you're a terrorist. You're not. So you have to have the official declaration, not only to, for the enemies to rectify their ways, but also for us. For us, I want to know what the fuck is going on. I want to know what the objectives are. I want to know why the hell we're going to be sending bombs and money and possibly dying. Soldiers are going to die. And if soldiers go over there to die, I need to know why we just did that. I need to understand why we're here, what our objectives are, what the fuck we're doing. And we don't have specific objectives. It's just an open-ended war till forever, right? Until the tactic of terrorism is dead. Trump is going to be impeached for war crimes. He's going to be impeached for war crimes right after the midterm elections. The midterm elections happen on November 6th, 2018. That's the Green Revolution, the Green Independence, the Green Party Revolution. We're going to light a Green Party up under your all's asses, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to primary every single Republican and Democratic candidate. And then, there's a whole host of issues as a progressive that I believe in. But stopping the war is the most important thing. And impeaching Trump seems like the best and straightforward tactic in order to end the war. And so it's not going to happen immediately. We need the majority of the House in order to get the impeachment, and then 2/3 of the Senate in order to get a conviction. So there's also 33 senators that are up for re-election come November 2008. Midterms are going to be huge. They're going to be huge. Right now, Trump has very low approval numbers. In fact, his impeachment numbers are higher than his approval numbers. I think his approval numbers are 37 or something, and then 41% of the people want to impeach Trump. But not a shit ton of fucking so-called Bernie supporters and Jill Stein supporters, which is ironic. Perhaps they're just a bunch of Republican bots, and I really didn't know who they were to begin with. So there's 39 governors, 39 governorships that are up for election, 33 Senate seats that are up for re-election, and then you have all 435 House of Representatives that are up for re-election. And actually, I never knew that. I never knew that. So every 2 fucking years, the House of Representatives has elected every single house, all 435 seats, which isn't stable, is it? But that's how we win. That's how we and dedicate this to Jeffrey Archer. Okay, so Jeffrey Archer, your governor, is up for election. They're retiring or term limited Republican incumbent. So the Republican governor is gone. It's an open seat, completely open. Rick Scott, term limited. They can't have 3 consecutive terms. The same thing with Colorado. But we have a Democrat that can't run. So the state of Colorado the Democrats has to win over, right? The same seat, have to save their seat, and then with the Republicans, then they could take it over, right? So they're vulnerable. The Democrats are vulnerable here in Colorado, and in Florida, the Republicans are vulnerable. And then they say there's Adam Putnam and Marco Rubio. Oh, no, he won't run. Then you have Andrew Gillum and some other assholes. But it's 39 governorships, including the territories, 3 territories, and the District of Columbia. So the district, Muriel Bowser, right, the enemy of Mario, Muriel Bowser, who's a Democrat and is the mayor. The mayor, right? They have mayoral elections every 4 years in Washington, D.C. So Muriel Bowser can run again. You know, first elected 2014, so this would be the second term. Then you have Guam, Eddie Calvo. He's term limited, so he cannot go on. U.S. Virgin Islands, Kenneth Mapp. He's an independent, and he's eligible to run again. And there's 6 candidates running against Kenneth Mapp. The Northern Mariana Islands, you have Ralph Torres, a Republican, who's also eligible to run again. The candidates running against Kenneth Mapp is Warren Mosler, Albert Bryan, Randolph Bennett. Everybody else, pay attention. See if your state has a governor's election next year. This is going to be huge. So for Barbara, for me to see California, the governor of California is going, you know, there's a governor's race for next year. Pay attention. Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, all these states have a term-limited Democratic incumbent. So that means the Democrats are vulnerable. It's an open seat. So I don't think they're vulnerable, but they don't have the advantage, right? It's more of a fair 50-50 fight. So California, Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota. Then you have Democratic incumbents eligible for re-election in Hawaii, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. So that means there's Democrat governors who can run again in Hawaii, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. There'll be a lot of push. No, we got to save the party, right? A lot of conservatives. But if they are not good, if they're not progressive, they need to be primaried. A number of Republican incumbents that are retiring or term limited. There's Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Maine, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Wyoming. 13 Republican governors are no more. So this gives Tennessee, Wyoming, Ohio, Oklahoma, you know, they can get their shit fucking together. Get your shit together, Ohio. Fuck. Republican incumbents eligible for re-election in Alabama, of course, Arizona, oh boy, Arkansas, oh my God, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nebraska, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Texas, Vermont, and Wisconsin. And then you have incumbent and eligible for re-election, Alaska. Governorships and executive positions of major city, states, and territories like Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Washington, D.C., Wyoming, Wisconsin, Vermont, Texas, Tennessee, South Dakota, South Carolina, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Oklahoma, Ohio, New York, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Nevada, Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan, Massachusetts, Maryland, Maine, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, Idaho, Hawaii, Georgia, Florida, Connecticut, Colorado, California, Arkansas, Arizona, Alaska, and Alabama. These are all the races. These are the 39 governorships that are going on, okay? Now, there's also 33 senators, and I'm going to name all of them too, at least the states. I'm not going to mention all the House of Representatives, but understand that every single representative in all the 50 states, they are running for re-election. Now, here's the list of people running for Colorado's governor. You got 7 Republican candidates, and you also have 7 Democrat candidates, 7 Republican candidates, a bunch of independents. And unfortunately, the Green Party candidate that had filed to run, she said on Twitter that she's not running it. I think she's running for a different position, but she had put her name on it, Veronique Marie Bellamy. She said Green Party. She was nominated by the Frenemies. So Green Party, she's out. Veronique is out. Now, everybody else, you got Matthew Wood and Michael Wilborn and Corey Paul Stokely, who are all unaffiliated. You have William Hammonds of the Unity Party. You have Kathleen Cunningham of unaffiliated, George Cantrell of the American Constitution Party. So you got 6 independent candidates. 6 independent candidates, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. Candidates, I don't even think, just George Brockler. That's all you need to know. George Brockler, he's the one that he had something to do with James Holmes, and he's all about the death penalty, and he's a prosecutor right now. He goes on Twitter, so watch out. I mean, but you got Joanne Silva, she's of Loveland, and then you have Jim Lennart Runberg, and Doug Robinson, Victor S. Mitchell, George Lopez, and Lou Gator. So Lou Gator is his real name, of Livermore, and his email is lew@gaiter.us, gaiter.us. So there's 7 Republican candidates there, and then you also have 7 Democrats, including Michael Irwin Schroeder. And fuck Michael Irwin Schroeder. God, I hate this. 720-236-8886. Ask him why he hates marijuana so fucking. Tidbit, Ed Perlmutter is one of the House races here. It's an open seat because he's running for governor. So therefore, the House has already lost one, right? It's an open seat, so it's not a loss, but they don't have the advantage, right? So Ed Perlmutter is another Democrat, and Michael Irwin Schroeder. You have Kerry Kennedy, Michael C. Johnston, probably the favorite, Moses Carmen Humes. Then you have Noel Ginsburg and Adam Garrity. That's my boy. That's my horse, okay? Adam Garrity. Adam Garrity makes all you fuckers look so stupid. Adam Garrity is the smartest. He is, by far got the best progressive policies. He will smoke. Never mind. I don't know. I think he's going to win. I hope he's going to win. I don't know. Adam Garrity is my boy. That's who I'm backing. But he's of the Democratic Party, so I'm the Green Party. So actually I have 7 representatives in Colorado. 4 of them are Republican and 3 are Democrat. But we had 4 of them that voted against Trump Care. But Doug Lamborn of the 5th District, Ken Buck of the 4th District, and Scott Tipton, 3, 4, 5, they're fucking assholes. They're voting for death panels. They're voting to take away health care for 23 million Americans. So Scott R. Tipton, 202-225-4761. You're going to have over 300,000 people in that district that have pre-existing conditions. Therefore, they're going to get kicked off their health insurance, and over 95,000 in District 3 of Colorado are at risk of losing their health coverage. So he don't give a shit about 100,000 of the 3rd District. You're going to kill 100,000 of us. Scott R. Tipton. And then Ken Buck and Doug Lamborn in their respective districts also voted for this horrible Trump. Green Revolution is going to be November 6, 2018, in just 1 year and 6 months from now. Watch. You're going to have a Green Party revolution. They're the smartest. They understand that shit's got to change. They're more energetic. They're also right. Just look at Jill Stein's platform. Is it not the greatest platform you've ever seen in your life? It is for me. She is my spiritual goddess. Okay, so 7 House Representatives. We have Diana DeGette and Jared Polis of the 2nd District, Diana DeGette of the 1st, 3rd Scott Tipton, 4th Ken Buck, 5th Doug Lamborn, 6th Mike Kaufman, and 7 Earl Perlmutter. So 3, 4, 5. So that means Mike Kaufman. Mike Kaufman is the Republican that did not vote for Trump Care. So he should be given some props for that bravery. Now Ed Perlmutter, his seat is open, and you already have a bunch of candidates in there. Diana DeGette of Denver. She's had power since 1997, so for 20 years, nobody is running against Diana DeGette. Is she a progressive? If not, she needs to be primaried. Jared Polis, he's also a Democrat of Boulder, and he's had that power, that seat, since 2009, so he has had power for 8 years. So far, nobody's running against him so far. Nobody's running against Scott Tipton yet. Nobody. When the primaries, is that May of next year? When's the last moment you can get in? April? Ken Buck has a Democrat running against him, Larry Germanson. German, the son of a German. I trust Larry Germanson just based on his name. Ken Buck voted, for Trump Care, which is an anti-health care bill, death panels. He's literally killing people. Scott Tipton, Ken Buck, and Doug Lamborn are literally killing people. These health care policies are Lamborn of the 5th District has Owen Hill, the Republican, is running against him. So he's being primary, Doug Lamborn is. And then you have Betty Field, the sole Democrat so far, running against Doug in the 5th District. In the 6th District, you have David Arsetod and Jason Crow, 2 Democrats, who are going to have to battle it out in the primary and then run against Mike Kaufman. And then with Ed Perlmutter's seat, you have Andy Kerr, Dominic Marino, or Brittany Peterson. I don't know any of these. These are my people, okay? So out of Brittany Peterson, Dominic Marino, Andy Kerr, we should start taking a look at them. People of the 3rd District, this is the people of all west, side of Colorado. So the 3rd District, the west side is the best side, right? So Jared Polis of Boulder was a Democrat. He's had that seat since 2009. Ed Perlmutter was in there since 2000. Doug Lamborn, the Republican from Colorado Springs, has had power since 2007. So he's had power the longest. He's had power for 10 years. He wants another, 6 terms? 6 terms for Doug Lamborn. And then you have, all these other ones. They're going to have 5, 4, 3 terms. Ken Buck of Greeley's been in there since 2015, so he's only, been in there for 1 term. But look at this, 2009, that's when Mike Kaufman of Aurora, that Republican, he's been in there for 8 years. So that's going to be the 5th term, 5 terms for Mike Kaufman, more years in office than George Washington. These assholes, you have to have term limits, because without term limits, they just keep on taking power for, ever and ever. And then Scott R. Tipton's been in there for, since 2011 for 6 years. Next year to be 7 years. And then after that, 9 years, right? 10 years, fuck, a whole decade. Scott R. Tipton, the 7th House of Representatives, that's up for Colorado, 7th House of Representatives. There's 5 elections for non-voting delegates, non-voting, so politically, basically, these don't even fucking matter. But they get to sit in the House of Representatives and feel like they're part of the group. You don't get no vote. You get no say-so. But you can sit and watch us all vote and see how we get to have power. And while some of these, I don't know, kind of make sense because they're territories, we should just include them as our brothers and sisters, right? Just accept them as citizens, but instead we're occupy them in their American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and the Virgin Islands. They're voting for non-voting delegates, being that they're territories, but the District of Columbia, the fucking capital of the United States, they do not have a representative in Congress. They don't have a representative in Congress. So the entire country, all 50 states, are voting for representatives, but D.C. is having to pretend to have some very exciting midterm elections coming up November 6, 2018. We need to get the majority of the House who are pro-Trump impeachers, and we need to get 2/3 of the Senate. So this is going to be very, very hard for the Senate. So we may be able to impeach Trump, but not convict him. But once the ball gets rolling, with this health care bill, Scott R. Tipton, he's killing 23 million Americans because of his vote. And so fuck him on that front. He's for death panels. He's not for universal health care. Scott R. Tipton should not be our representative in the 3rd District of Colorado. All 435 House reps are up for re-election, every single fucking one of them. 39 governorships and 33 senators. This is really bad for the Democrats, the senators, because you have 23 senators that are up for re-election. We're at the primary, every single one of them, because the Democrats don't control the House, they don't control the Senate. There's 5 conservatives on the Supreme Court. Essentially, the Republican conservatives own all 3 branches of government. They control every fucking thing. The Democrats have zero, absolutely no power right now. None. Right? I guess they can do that filibuster thing where you got to get 60 votes or whatever the fuck that shit is. But they got zero, zilch, nada, no power. Right now, the Democrats are just principled opposition until hopefully they get power later on. So they should be obstructing, the fuck out of the place. But they can't. They're snowball liberals. They got to be friends with everybody. But the Democrats have no power. And it looks like the Democrats could have even less power. So, man, the Democratic Party is up against the ropes, right? It is cornered. What are the Democrats going to do? It's 52 to 46 right now, a difference of 6 seats. The Republicans control the Senate. Out of all of the 33 senators that are up for re-election, the GOP will only be defending 8 seats, while the Democrats must fight for 23, plus another 2 held by independents who caucus with Democrats. i.e. Angus King and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders could get primaried for his Senate seat next year. And also Elizabeth Warren and somebody else that's got a big name. But 23 seats, Democrat senators their seats are up for grabs, plus 2 independents who caucus with Democrats. That's 25 seats for the Democrats and only 8 seats for the Republicans. Now, while that's the general layout, all the Democrats could win. They could get primaried. I think all the Democrats need to be primaried so that way they have the strongest, most progressive, and robust candidate in there, and all the Republicans need to get booted out. Really bad for the Democrats. Over half of the Democratic caucus will be up for re-election. Over half of them, right? So they might even lose, what power they have in their own minority party. And some of these incumbents represent highly red states such as Montana, North Dakota, West Virginia, Indiana, and Missouri. So that sucks, right? West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, North Dakota, Montana. Would not surprise me if West Virginia and Indiana just all went Republican. Just fuck it, Why beat around the bush? You guys aren't fucking liberals or progressives. You don't care about other people. You have no heart. It's just all about wearing a fucking hat. They're also running in a number of swing states: Ohio, Wisconsin, Florida, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. So because they're running in these red states, Montana, North Dakota, West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, swing states, Florida, Virginia, Wisconsin, 23 plus 2, 25, that's 25%. 25% of the Senate. The Democrats or the liberals might, they might lose their seats. Here are the 8 GOP senators. You have Jeff Flake of Arizona. Jeff Flake is going for his 2nd term, so he could lose his term, right? He's a Republican senator, Arizona. John Barrasso of Wyoming, and Orrin Hatch of Utah. Ted Cruz of Texas is going for his 2nd term. Bob Corker of Tennessee is going for his 3rd term. And that is not 8, but those are 5, right? I listed 5 of them for you. Orrin Hatch of Utah and Ted Cruz of Texas are the most notable ones, plus 3 other GOP senators in the Democratic states. You have Joe Manchin of West Virginia. He's going for his 2nd term. Tim Kaine of Virginia is going for his 2nd 6-year. Kaine, right? You could primary Tim Kaine. You could primary Dianne Feinstein. You can primary Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin is going for her 2nd term. They all should be primaried anyways. If they're not progressive, they should get booted out. If they're a strong progressive and they can fend off any progressive challengers, then keep them, because you're going to need a robust progressive in order to beat these fucking Republicans. So in order to have competitive progressive Democrats, they all have to be primaried. So I would push actually for a primary for Democrats, not for them to lose, but to have a robust conversation, whereas I would push for the Republicans to be primaried so that they lose, right? Hopefully they lose. So Sherrod Brown of Ohio is going for his 3rd Senate term. Maria Cantwell of Washington, since 2000, she's going for her 4th 6-year Senate term. So she's been senator for 24 years. Washington State, pay attention. Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, she could, be primaried by a more, like a person who actually endorsed Bernie Sanders. So Dianne Feinstein, she's been in there since 1992. I think she was, I could be wrong, but I think she was like a real asshole to Bernie Sanders. She's in the 5th Senate term, and she wins, right? She'll be in there for 6 terms. So she had been a senator of California, the most liberal state, for 36 years. You can't overthrow your incumbents. Your income is 95% for incumbents, and you can't get rid of your own incumbent. That's pretty pathetic. Dianne Feinstein out of California. Is she that popular? You love her that damn much? Senators, there's only 2 senators. She's been in there longer than Mitch McConnell. Talk about a career politician. Talk about a lifetime of corruption. So the states, New Mexico, New York, all the left of center independents, Greens, progressive, liberals, Democrats out there, make sure your Democratic candidate is a strong progressive. You also better primary them, right, Broseph, or you're going to get fucked. So New Mexico, New Jersey, Nevada, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Wisconsin, Washington, Ohio, North Dakota, New York, Mississippi, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Indiana. Pay attention. Pay attention. All your senators are up for re-election right now. The Democrats are scared that they're going to lose the seat, so they're going to try to be real ultra-conservative. That's why you must primary them. You must get somebody in there. Just have a conversation. Just talk about the issues, right? Have 5 debates. You don't have to, make it like a hardcore knockout, but that's a better conversation, right? That's a better, more talk about policy, the issue. November 6th, 2018, Dianne Feinstein, I'm pretty sure I don't like her. I don't know. I just have that, I don't have the specific reasons, but I know I hate her. She's been in there for, since, 92, since Bill Clinton was president. And, for 36 years. 36 years. She should just be primaried just because of that. Primaried out. Okay? Elizabeth Warren, she could lose. Tim Kaine could lose. Sherrod Brown, could lose their positions. And is that it? Feinstein, Elizabeth Warren, Tim Kaine, Sherrod Brown, and then Bernie Sanders. That's huge. Vermont, since 2006. He's been in there for 2 terms. He's going in there for a 3rd Senate term. And then in Maine, Angus King, he's also going for a 3rd term too. So Bernie Sanders of Vermont, you're not going to like this, but I think you should be primary just for the same reasons, to have that robust discussion. Not primaried out, but, defend your progressive credentials. There's a lot of good things about Bernie Sanders, but he keeps funding the war, Israeli occupation. You have all these secret wars. War on terror. Who knows wherever the fuck Trump says it is. And we're all over in Africa right now. We're like in 20 countries in Africa. 20 fucking countries. That's how Vietnam started, right? You had Eisenhower that just sprinkled a couple into Vietnam, and then Truman put more in, and then JFK, LBJ, Nixon. So you had all these presidents that eventually, got stuck with the last administration's bullshit. And even if ISIS gets defeated, Trump is going to find some other target to go after, right? So Obama tried to stop the Afghanistan war, the Iraq war, both of which are still going on, and then a bunch more. These midterm elections are nationally, but for Colorado, there's no senators. I don't have to worry about any senators. We got 2 Democrats, so 2 of the lesser evils in there now, but neither one are up for re-election. So we have no senators to vote for. We have a governor that's an open seat. The Democrat is stepping down, so it's basically a free-for-all, 50-50 choice, right? When it comes to the 7 independents, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans, and then of the House of Representatives, this is nationally, we have 7 of those to choose from also. 7 House of Representatives to vote for, U.S. House of Representatives, and we have a governor that we got to vote for. But we also have a bunch of executive officers too, and we have a House election, and we have a Senate election here. So every 2 years, all the House of Representatives for the state of Colorado and for the U.S. Congress, every single one of them, the 7 U.S. House of Representatives seats for the U.S. and the 65 state seats here in Colorado, every single one of them is up for re-election every 2 years. So next year, they'll be up for re-election. Then 2020, they'll all be up for re-election again. In the Senate, there's 35 senators, and they have 4-year terms that are staggered, so half of the Senate is up for election every 2 years. 17 is up for re-election this year in 2018. The midterm elections, November 6th. 2020, there's going to be 18 seats, right? That's when the majority of the senators are up for re-election, but 17 are up for re-election right now. So if you're living in Colorado, check to see if your senator is running for re-election. Check to see if your House of Representatives is running for re-election, and then see who's running against them. Compare and contrast with their policies. Tell everybody who you think is best. So all the House, all 65 members of the Colorado's House is up for election. All 7 of the U.S. House is up for election. The governor is up for election. Now, the state officers, it's not exactly clear which one is appointed and which one is running for office, but the Attorney General is definitely an elected position. The governor is an elected position. The Treasurer and the Secretary of State are definitely elected positions. You also have the Colorado State Board of Education and the Regents of the University of Colorado. 2 seats on the 7-member state board of education that are up for election in 2018. And then you also have 3 seats on the 9-member University of Colorado Board of Regents that are up for election in 2018. So 3 seats on the 9-member board of the University of Colorado Board of Regents, and then 2 seats on the 7-member State Board of Education are up for election, in addition to the state treasurer, the secretary of state, the attorney general, and then the governor and the lieutenant governor run together. Then there's also these other executive offices. Looks like they're mostly appointed, but I don't know. I have to check further into it. But Colorado Executive Director of Natural Resources, the Colorado Commissioner of Agriculture, Colorado Executive Director of Labor and Employment, the Colorado Public Utilities Commission. 2 seats are there that was appointed. Commissioner of Education. So another Colorado Public Utilities Commission. So 3 of them have been appointed. I'm not very clear about that. Colorado Commissioner of Education, the Colorado Commissioner of Insurance, and Colorado Controller. What I know for sure is that the ones that are not up for re-election, they will be appointed by the new governor. So that's why the governor's choice, that is why we must have Adam Garrity. Adam Garrity must be Colorado's next governor. Adam Garrity will protect the marijuana industry. He's the only one that has vowed to protect the marijuana industry. He will, no doubt in my mind, protect it. And so there's also a lot of other progressive ideas that he is for. He was open to ranked choice voting, and he was open to the Sweden's trash to electric program. So the platform for Pueblo that I had, he seemed to be up for it. So we have at least 5 executive positions up for election, plus overall what Colorado is looking at on November 6, 2018 is 7 U.S. House of Representatives are going to vote for, no senators. We're going to vote for a new governor. The governor is going to appoint a whole bunch of executive positions. There's 12 executive positions. It looks like only 5 of them are elected, so that means the new governor is going to be accountable. Their duty is going to, 7 people. They're going to bring 7 people to power with them. So you have the Colorado Treasurer, the Secretary of State, Governor of Colorado, and the Attorney General. So you have 5 executive positions that are up for re-election. You got 65 State House that's up for re-election, and you have 17 senators. So that's a shit ton, right? Nearly half of the Senate, all of the House, and then the entire executive government, and then the U.S. House of Representatives. And the Pueblo's got an interesting headline here by the BBC. It says that the U.S. officials actually verified that this is what happened. 3 U.S. Special Forces soldiers have been shot dead by an Afghan colleague during an operation in eastern Afghanistan, U.S. officials say. And so 3 of them, U.S. soldiers killed by commando in Achin district. So 3 U.S. Special Forces, a spokesman for the governor in Nangarhar province, said an Afghan commando had opened fire on the U.S. troops during a joint operation in Achin. He was shot dead and returned fire. So the commando was killed too, but it said he killed 3 soldiers. Another U.S. soldier was reportedly wounded in the attack. Spokesperson for the Taliban said it did it. It carried out the attack. Earlier, at least 2 Afghan policemen were killed by U.S. forces in a so-called friendly fire incident in southern Afghanistan. The deaths are said to have occurred when a U.S. aircraft returned fire during a joint operation in the restive province of Helmand. This is just like Brad Pitt's The War Machine in Helmand. We're still trying to capture Helmand, right? Because it can't be captured, and therefore we've got to hold on to every little tiny inch of the entire country of Afghanistan. I mean, we should do the same thing in Afghanistan that we're doing in Yemen and Somalia, right, with the circles, the activities. We're just drawing little circles and saying these are the area of hostilities and then leaving everything else alone. These are war crimes. These are war crimes. The war on terror, I don't want to end I think we're going to have to live with the tactic of terror. I think war is fucking bullshit. War is very limited times when violence ever could be used in society. I think we should actually make violence look down upon violence. That's barbaric, and it's might is right, and just because somebody that's a fascist, I'm going to do what I tell you, or there's going to be violence. Now, a lot of times with groups, with revolutions, with Nelson Mandela specifically, George Washington, he was violent, right? He declared war. It was the Revolutionary War, and revolutions, for some reason, it does seem like they're a lot better than a war. A revolution changes everything and makes it all better, and now we can just operate as ourselves, as the proud Americans that we are, right? So revolutions are justified. Self-defense is justified. To stop colonization or imperialization is justified. Anything the United Nations, I would say 90% of what the United Nations, we're using, I think, depleted uranium. Definitely white phosphorus, like napalm. So we're using white phosphorus. We're all over in Africa. I used to say that the 7 countries, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Pakistan, Afghanistan, were the official wars, but we've never officially declared war on any of these folks. The war on terror, which we used to go into Afghanistan, was just a declaration against terror, the tactic of terror, and to go after the perpetrators of 9/11, Al-Qaeda, all right, which has expanded. Apparently, there was the CIA group. The Al-Qaeda was the group created by the CIA, and there was only about 100 of them. Now there's fucking thousands all across the world. So the CIA created this fictional enemy, which now lots of people have picked up on and has spread. ISIS, all right, it's an open-ended affair with no real military objectives. It could very much be exploited for personal gain. It could be very much be exploited just to take over in Africa. We're in 20 different countries in Africa. And, I heard that we're going after Boko Haram. Good. Fuck Boko Haram. Right? We're sitting there, pissed off about San Bernardino, but meanwhile, Boko Haram is like taking out hundreds at a time. There was 150 people that were killed in Kabul and Afghanistan. The protesters, the cops started shooting the protesters. And then with this, what we have is we got 5 fucking dead people, 5 fucking crimes. There's no reason to be in Afghanistan. We haven't had an official declaration of war. Trump definitely didn't get an official declaration of war. He's carrying over from the previous president, who's also conducted war crimes, from the president before that, who was the main war criminal that started it all. And so, therefore, it seems to me that the Taliban had either maybe in revenge for retribution for the 2 Afghan policemen, right? The policemen were there to defend the Afghan people and, of course, their officials. So U.S. forces killed them in a so-called friendly fire incident. I mean, that's friendly fire, isn't that what they said? That one soldier who was under McChrystal, right? Pat Tillman, he was killed in a friendly fire incident. And McChrystal was in Afghanistan. He was the one that focused on Helmand. And here we are again. So the crimes are the 2 Afghanistan policemen. They died. They were, what the fuck? They weren't militants. They weren't militants. They were of, the people. And then, and it's not funny, but, I would cry if I truly, maybe I should cry. And then the 3 Americans were killed. 3 Americans were killed because one of their own, the Afghan, published today, yesterday, June 10th, Saturday, so by the BBC. So June 10th, 2007, you had 3 U.S. soldiers who were killed by one of the Afghan commanders of our side, who apparently just went berserk. And then earlier that day, 2 police officers who were killed by a friendly fire incident. So 5 people were killed at least on June 10th in 2017 in Afghanistan. So here's another article. So Vice is the one that broke that secret, shadow wars in Africa, AFRICOM. So we got AFRICOM in Africa. And you had a Navy SEAL, that's usually when you find out what the fuck is going on, because all these secret missions all over the world, the CIA is the one who controls the drone bombing programs. There were 10 people in Yemen who got blown up. Nobody knows. Apparently, we got a clandestine drone operation with around 30 to 40 American personnel in Bale-Dougal. It's an old Soviet airport 70 miles northwest of Mogadishu, Somalia's capital. where we run our drone operation, which would be the CIA. The CIA has full control. It's not the joint, command, operations and command, like Obama did. And then 30 or 40, so we're escalating Afghanistan. We're escalating Somalia. When did we declare the war on Somalia? I don't remember declaring war on Somalia. When did we declare war? When did we declare war on Afghanistan? Bin Laden's dead, right? So Saddam's dead, Bin Laden's dead. What are we doing? We're going to end terror for all the nations in the entire world for the rest of the time? No, I'm not. I didn't sign up for that. Apparently we're going after Al-Shabaab, so it's not the same. The guy that the Black Hawk Down war with Bill Clinton, the one which we pulled out, good for, with the withdrawal, Bill Clinton. But apparently the bad guy that we're going after then is our ally now. And we're going after Al-Shabaab, which sees itself as the preeminent terror force in Somalia, and they have global ambitions. So this is the enemy that we're going after in Somalia. We had a team of Navy SEALs boarded helicopters at Baldugal, right, the one town that they're at in the old Soviet airport. We're just going to advise and assist, right, with a whole bunch of weapons and guns. And they're going to blow up the Endulus radio. So we're just literally attacking radio stations. Before, it was a war crime in Yugoslavia. Somalia's Danab commando team raid is us. We helped the Danab commando team, and they raided the Endulus radio station, which is an Al-Shabaab radio station, right? So you could say it's their propaganda or they're the truth, right? They're spreading information all around. They could very well be radicalizing it. So, if it was the Nazis, I wouldn't think the radio station, especially a propaganda arm. If you're at war with the nation, a legitimate war which you have declared, then, all bets are essentially off. To not commit war crimes just means you have some restrictions. You have some sort of code, some sort of policy that you say, okay, if there's a sniper on top of a building, you don't just blow up the whole building, right? You don't just kill 3,000 people because of one sniper on the rooftop. You have to try to get them without killing everybody else. The force, the Americans and the Danab's, Somali Danab Commando Squad, they neared the radio station under the cover of darkness, but was met by intense fire. The Somali official told Voice of America that Al-Shabaab brought in reinforcements and encircled the approaching commandos. So they're circling around them. They were expecting it. Maybe they were tipped off, right? And that what John McCain said, oh yeah, about that Yemen operation. He said they were tipped off. So that's fucking nuts. That's kind of crazy. There's leakers that's damaging, they killed American soldiers, right? So this happened on May 4th, 2017, and what's going to happen is you're going to have one of the SEALs are going to get killed. Kyle Milliken, Navy SEAL Kyle Milliken was killed. 2 others were wounded. And then, everybody loves Milliken. He's the first U.S. American. Navy SEAL Kyle Milliken was the first American that has been killed since the 1993 U.S. Army mission to capture the warlord, the Somalian war, which Bernie Sanders voted for. Bernie Sanders voted for the war in Somalia. It was Bill Clinton. It seems like Bernie's distinction is if it's a Democrat doing it, it's okay. If it's a Republican, it's not. And, murder is just, it's murder. Murder is murder. And fuck murder. If we can't even agree that murder, is wrong, then we have no basis for civilization. Okay, so the Pentagon has revealed few details, right, but piecing together witness reports. This is how we find out. Oh, yeah, a whole bunch of people were blown up and killed. All right, you have this poor Kyle Milliken was killed. So, you got to explain it. What happened? So now we the capital of Serbia. Is that Belgrade? It's the capital and largest city of Serbia. So Belgrade does not recognize Kosovo. Kosovo declared their independence, a small bit ago in 2008. So there was the big Yugoslavia bombing, there's the Kosovo war, and now they're still just 2008. So 9 years they declared independence from Serbia. Belgrade does not recognize it. Kosovo prosecutors have accused a Serb citizen of war crimes during the 1998-1999 war. Prosecutors from Kosovo and the European Union Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo, or ULEX, on Tuesday accused a Serb identified as ZV of war crimes against the ethnic Albanian civilian population. They said on May 5th, 1999, the defendant killed 4 people and tortured, beaten, stole money and jewelry from... I guess this is justice for murder. I mean, murder. We should be able to agree that murder is fucking wrong. So during the war, this ZV, apparently he's being accused of killing 4 people. I mean, is that a war crime? Was it were they Al-Qaeda? Were they the bad guys? But then it said he tortured, beat, and stole money and jewelry from at least 25 Kosovo Albanians. So is that plunder? Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to torture and beat people? But if he's just a criminal, just enhancing it and just lining his own pockets, right, and just... They said they went after Kosovo Albanians, so that could be racism, right, ethnic cleansing. And if convicted, he could face life imprisonment. About 10,000 people died from that war, and 1,700 remain missing. 10,000 people. So, good, fuck a war criminal. It'd be exciting to primary the Democrats to make sure there's none of these warmongering imperialists or these goddamn 1%, sycophants. These 1%, kiss-ass sycophant Democrats primary them. Now, while Bernie is good when it comes to war, he voted for war in Somalia to bomb Yugoslavia. He's been financing every single military appropriations bill since he's been in there, since 1991. The Israeli occupation, all these secret wars in Africa, and all the secret wars, all of them are secret. We're in Somalia, we're in Pakistan, we're in Yemen. What are we doing in Yemen? Okay, so if Bernie Sanders got primaried, think about how exciting that would be. And then the new progressive, it had to be such a badass progressive. And then we would push them to beat the Republican in the general. God, that'd be so exciting. That would be so